All right, there's the reset. Welcome, welcome to the second day of our 3-day shield practice. I hope you're doing well. I'm glad you're here. So, just to reiterate, this practice is meant to be a building block for helping us to decontaminate our minds, reset our bodies, build up some inner strength that we can connect to when we feel the onslaught of information, whether that's misinformation, disinformation, or just an overload of information. This was inspired by reading Surviving Autocracy and scrolling on my phone. So I just want to emphasize this practice is about our personal inner worlds. It's about personal sovereignty. This is not about outward projection. We're fortifying our inner worlds. All right, so that out of the way, I have dropped a link to the mantra that I will be listening to for today's meditation. I'm very excited. I love this mantra. So it's Chattr Chakkr Varti. I'm fine when I'm saying it within the chant, but saying the name by itself, I struggle with. So let's go ahead and tune in and I'll kind of break down what we'll be doing. Rub your beautiful palms together, close your eyes, bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, exhale. And we'll tune in with the Adi mantra, Om Namo Guru Dev Namo, repeated 3 times. Inhale to begin. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Inhale, hold the breath, pull the root lock. Exhale, we're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale, hold the breath, pull the root lock. And exhale, last time, inhale, hold the breath, pull the root lock. And exhale. All right, shake it out. So we will be using, like I said, the mantra Chattr Chakkr Varti. Again, the description has the link for the specific artist that I'm listening to. We will also be using the Musti Mudra. We're going to kind of layer this as a connection, right? As a reference point, as sort of a pattern for us to reach back to, reach into, as to reinforce reaching inward when we feel like we're being consumed by an overload of information. Again, however that's showing up. It's misinformation, it's disinformation, it's outrage, it's everything that we currently are coming across. So, this is about layering with sound. And then again, we're adding into the somatic foundation. This particular mantra is about courage. It helps us to really connect to that inner anchor, that inner core self, the willpower that's inherent to us. It's really about anchoring to that. So that's why I'm pairing it with this particular, well, I was going to say this particular series, but this is sort of the bedrock of how I put all this together, a way that we can connect it all, something that we can reach for. So yesterday we built the foundation of the somatic experience, right? The connection to the physical body. What is actually happening within me when I'm scrolling? Today we're going to kind of broaden that out to just an overload of information. So it doesn't necessarily have to be online. It can be any type of interaction that you have. And again, we're going to check in with our body. We're going to be using the mantra. We're going to be listening to the mantra as we're doing the somatic experience. Then we'll bring in the Musti Mudra, which is bringing our hands into a gentle fist. So don't clench the fist. Again, we're not at war. This is not a fight that we're preparing for. Okay, we're building inner fortification. So it's not about a fight. It's about gathering that energy and connecting to it within us. Okay, so it's It's much more about empowerment here and less about defense. By building the inner fortification, we are also building a defense to better connect to a healthy aspect of defense, just to clarify that. Okay. So this is meant to add the sound of the mantra and the stability of the mudra to the intention of inner fortification, and also to invoke the field of protection around the newly cleansed awareness, right? Okay, so we're going to do, like I said, we're going to start with a body scan. So go ahead and close your beautiful eyes or soften that incredible gaze. I want you to go ahead and bring your hands up to about ear level, palms are wide open, fingers are spread nicely. I want you to act as if you're gathering energy. Slowly curl your hands into a fist, bring them down to your abdomen level, and then gently let them rest in either your lap or on your knees. Again, a gentle fist, okay? Now, I want you to bring to mind a particular situation where you felt or feel overloaded by information. Again, it can be online or offline, either way. And I want you to notice what's happening within your body, okay? And you don't need to go deep. We're just bringing this to our awareness so that we can see what happens as we start to feel that overload happening. How does it show up initially? We want to connect to that because that's going to be our awareness. That's going to be the reference point we have to give us that space to either step back or anchor if we're unable to leave the situation. For example, if it's at work and we feel overwhelmed, right? We can't just leave for the day necessarily. So and then we're just going to take a couple more breaths here. I don't want to rush through the somatic experience because it is foundational, it is pivotal. And it is very important for us to connect to how our body responds because in moment to moment experiences, that's the default, right? That's where we're going to need to connect first to become aware of, okay, this situation is bringing up this, and this. How can I anchor within myself? Or can I leave because this doesn't feel healthy within my body? Or how do I pivot? How do I adapt, right? In a healthy way. So one more breath here. Okay. And then you can keep your eyes closed for this part. I just want to talk a little bit about the mantra. As I stated, it's Chattr Chakkr Varti, and it means you are the four-quarteted shield and protector. So again, this is about building courage within us, and it's about connecting to that willpower that is innately ours, or that we are innately made up of. So we're not chanting to push away anything. Okay, we're not, this isn't necessarily about pushing away from anything. It's to calmly and firmly establish our own well-being, our own sovereignty within, to protect our space around our entire being. And it's to set a standard that lies cannot take root or penetrate within my space, right? I can become aware of what's happening, and I'm going to give myself a choice to either partake in what's happening according to the guidance of my intuition, my authentic voice, or I'm going to say no, right? This is about choice, okay? This is about you standing firmly within yourself based on what your authentic voice is guiding you to do next, okay? Okay, so with this mantra, hopefully you have it pulled up, or feel free to chant it, whisper it, or silently recite it in your mind, whichever you feel more comfortable with. To start, I'm going to just be listening to the mantra. We'll be doing 3 minutes total. Okay, feels like that needs to be a little bit longer. Okay, so we may adapt that a little bit to be about 5 minutes instead. And then I'll probably start to whisper and then chant aloud towards the end. And that's mostly a way to chant mentally. It gives you an opportunity to notice the interaction of the mantra within what's happening, right? So it gives you an anchor. It also shows you how it shifts the energy that's happening. And then you can move through whisper, saying out loud, or you can just pick one and stick with it. That's perfectly fine. Okay, get my set here, and then I'll set a 5 minute timer. Okay, so I'm going to go with 5 minutes. If that shifts, I'll go ahead and just stop at 3, but for now we're going to go with 5. Okay, and then you want to be sitting with the Musti Mudra, again, gentle fist in your lap. We'll bring this to more active state more towards the end, but for right now we're just lightly holding the fist either in our lap or on our knees. And you can have your eyes closed, you can soften your gaze, either one is totally fine. So we're bringing our focus back to the experience of being overloaded by information. Listening to the mantra, seeing how it helps us anchor within to allow what needs to release, but be able to stand with what is still trying to get our attention without being consumed. Okay, and then I want you to shift your focus a little bit more solidly on from the state of your inner world to focusing more on reciting the mantra or listening more to the mantra. So bring your focus more solidly to the mantra itself. Chattr Chakkr Varti. Chattr Chakkr Varti, Chattr Chakkr Varti, Suyanda Sapam Taravatana Saripajugate, Tukala Ranasi Dehalam Sarupe Sadayanga Sange Abanga Vivate. Okay, and then we're going to move through similar to how we did yesterday. So with your eyes still closed or your gaze still softened, we're still listening to the mantra. We're going to make the mudra a little bit more active. That is a really helpful anchor for me. So I want everybody to play with it and see if that's also something that helps them. So go ahead and bring your hands back up, your palms back up to about ear level. Fingers are extended, hands are nice and open. And we're just gonna, again, bring our hands down like we're gathering energy as we slowly bring our hands into a light fist at abdomen level. Bring them back up as you open the beautiful hands. And we're just gonna repeat this process of gathering energy as we open and close the hands. Into a fist at abdomen level, bring them back up as we slowly chant with the mantra. And this again is meant to be an active gathering. So if you feel better about like pulling from the sides, if that feels more like an active gathering instead of up and down, please adapt it to how it feels more authentically like gathering and pulling that energy into you. And by gathering energy, I mean the scattering that tends to happen when we're overloaded with information. So we're going to keep pulling that energy in. Again, nice and light. It's meant to be an empowering action. Just check the time. Okay, so you've got about 40 seconds left. So a couple more rounds here, or a few more rounds. Okay, wishing I had gone with the green one by this artist, the green thumbnail. Forgot this one kind of cuts out at about 3 minutes in. Okay, well, I went with it for a reason. Apparently we needed to have the last little bit to just be the Musti Mudra. Okay, so we're going to do that 2 more times. Bring your hands up or out as you open the palms. Bring them into the Musti Mudra, nice light fist. Bring them back up. Last time, bring it into a fist. And then as you bring your fists to your abdomen, inhale deeply, hold the breath, pull the root lock. Exhale, we're going to do that 2 more times with the final one being different. So inhale, hold the breath, pull the root lock. Okay, exhale, and then actually we're going to change it. Hold the breath out, pull the navel back. Really anchor to that navel point. And inhale, bring your hands into your lap. And just sit for a moment and notice if there's any shift that occurred, if there's any difference from where we started with the somatic exercise of without the mantra, noticing the overwhelm of information, to the end with the mantra or the music as we had a more active mudra that we were using. A couple more breaths here to notice any shifts. Okay, and then I want you to reflect a little bit here on how the mudra and the mantra felt together. If you noticed any shifts within as we practiced both the mudra, the mantra, and then how they interacted together. So if one stands out to you, feel free to focus on that first. But it is helpful to stop and reflect a little bit to notice the interaction that you felt with them together. It gives you a stronger connection to how it works, how it doesn't work, maybe some neutral feelings towards it, or some places that you'd like to build upon it. And it's also great to notice if mantras just don't work for you, or you prefer affirmative statements or things like that. Maybe this reinforced, nope, this is actually what I find more beneficial and helpful. That's also a good point of reference. Perhaps your anchor is going to be more of an affirmative statement instead of using a mantra. These are all helpful guides. A couple more breaths here. Noticing the practice, what worked, what didn't work, what to let go of, what to build upon. 2 more breaths. Okay, so this was the voice of our practice. For me specifically, mantras, mudras are very much a part of that voice. Now yours may look different. Like I said, maybe you got reaffirmed that nope, I just need an affirmative statement. I need a color. I need, whatever it is. That's perfect. That is the voice of your practice that you're guiding yourself to use as an anchor when you feel overwhelmed by information. But this is how we connect to the voice of our practice, which is important. Can't have a practice if you don't sit with it to notice where it's guiding you to go. So, this hopefully also brought you a felt sense of a posture of strength, vibrational shield. Again, however that shows up, maybe it is for you the mantra as well, the mudra. Uh, Even if yours is something else, that's perfect. Okay. But this is hopefully giving you a guide on where to foundationally reach when you feel consumed by information, however that's showing up. So, tomorrow we'll complete the cycle with a practice of release that's a little bit more physical. I probably will bring the mantra back in for that one tomorrow, so I'll leave that in the description. Do ask yourself if you want to utilize the mantra for tomorrow if we're or while we're going through the practices. Test it out, see if it works. Sometimes a pairing can actually be really effective even if you don't normally utilize one or other aspects. Okay, now I sound like I'm just rattling on. I've lost my train. Okay, well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found this helpful. Feel free to drop anything in the comments, what worked, what didn't work, and I will see you next time.